drifted in from paradise. That's
Oh, God.
Not
that
Luton
I'm showing
Airport.
off. But had I told you I was going to Barbados?
I think
Well,
maybe
no.
you mentioned it perhaps a few once or 10 times.
Or maybe 30 times.
Yeah.
So yes, I had the most amazing time, waking up to blue skies. And I joined some friends and I booked it late. So the hotel only had 2 rooms left, which were their kind of top suites. And I just thought, what the hell? I've been working so hard in Panto and everything. But what I hadn't realised is my suite came with a butler. So I had it was actually 3 lady butlers who rotated. Who would bring you breakfast in the morning. So I had it on a balcony. But in the bathroom was a huge round bath, freestanding in the middle of the bathroom. So the first day, I went down to the beach and met my friends. The butler bought us cocktails at 11:30 in the morning, asked us where we wanted to have lunch and booked the lunch table and everything. And then when I got back up to my suite to get ready for dinner, she'd run me a bath with
my
bubble
goodness.
bath and rose petals over it.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
I did have a
Wow.
soak in the bath before I got ready for dinner. Yeah, it was
I'm surprised you didn't bring her home with you, Debbie.
I so wanted to.
Or one each.
Yeah, I booked because I stayed on a resort, so we only went off resort one day for dinner. So the rest of the time, there were so many restaurants. She would book the restaurant for us, and then we would meet for drinks in a bar, and she would come and escort us to the restaurant to make sure that our table we were happy with it. Oh, it was so ridiculous.
Oh my
goodness.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Oh
Wow.
God, that is amazing.
Wow.
I always remember Rod Stewart's wife saying that she had a butler, and I was so jealous, and I thought, it's so indulgent, but you know what, sometimes you need a little bit of self-love, don't you?
I really
TLC.
I mean, it, especially as you haven't been brought up with that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's extra special. I feel sorry for people of privilege because it's just what they become accustomed to. Where all the time I kept thinking, can't believe this is Debbie McGee, born in Surbiton, who's now, in Barbados with a butler for a week.
You look fantastic.
Oh, I really relaxed. I mean, we didn't do anything. We literally did loads of walks on the beach every day and did nothing else.
Lovely.
Fantastic cruises,
Yes.
but the butlers are just amazing. And I had a butler on my last cruise when I think we went up to the Northern Lights, and every time I used to come out, because the evenings when we were doing our speak talks or whatever we were doing, and every time I used to come out of my cabin in the evening, he'd stand there and go, "You look gorgeous."
That's
that
what you
reason
need.
only, it was worth having a butler.
Yeah.
That's it, with no strings attached.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe he was looking for a tip, though.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you're saying, Debbie, about people, that they weren't old. But do you find the older we get, and I know that we're still very young, but do you find the older we get, the sort of the younger people look like policemen and things like that?
Yeah, totally. But in my mind is always what my dad said to me, because my mum and dad, mum's still alive, were very youthful. Dad was up until he died in his 80s and ran everywhere and would go up ladders, and their house is really high. He'd go up on the roof to fix a thing, whatever. And I was talking to him one day and I said something about age, and Dad said, "Look, your mum and we never think of age. We just live."
That's right.
And it's very difficult to do that, I've found, as I'm getting older. But it is true. As you get older, you go, "Oh yeah, well, and I'm nearly so-and-so now. And of course, I've got a few aches and pains." But actually, it's all about living, isn't it?
Of course it is. And actually, my parents said to me, never retire. Because we don't in our family. We just go on until we drop.
We don't in our industry, do we, really?
No, we don't in our industry. No.
I mean, Natalie looks about 7.5.
She does, yeah, she does. You look like a teenager.
Through 15 filters and shot through 2 rugby socks, I could get away.
What, rugby socks in your boobs, you mean?
No, over the camera lens.
Oh, sorry. I thought Debbie had got to you again. Debbie A.
Tell Dee what you said to me about your blouses this morning.
Well, I got Debbie'd in rehearsal. She said, "Oh my God, what are you wearing?" And I said, "A sports bra." And she said, "Well, stop it. Don't be ridiculous." And she made me go bra shopping and got me a #1 bra. And I suddenly said to her this morning, "Oh my goodness, I've just realized all these blouses that I cannot wear, I realize now I can because, well, they're in a different place." So,
Different place.
yeah, the boobs are in a different place. Shot through a rugby sock, Dee, and yeah, I suppose we could put rugby socks down there as well. It feels like that though, because the sports bras just flatten you. But
They do. And I did exactly the same. And now they're up here.
Debbie, yours have never been down to your knees anyway. Debbie's all right. She's a good one, you see. I've never had to go up to her and go, have I, Debbie?
Yes, I'm very lucky, actually. Yeah, very lucky. So, yeah, they've stayed hurt. Actually,
we like hurt.
this is showing off, but when I was in my mid-50s and I had a mammogram, and this, you know, we all know what that's like. But this lady said to me, "Are they all yours?" And I said, yes. And she said, "Well, I have to say, my dear," she said, "I hadn't ever had a woman of your age where they've stayed so hurt." So that's where I got a thing from. And you can imagine what I was like when I walked out of the hospital. I was like, "Oh,
oh, that is wonderful. Isn't that lovely?
Goodness.
But
What a compliment.
I just think I've always worn uplifting bras, and I only wear sports bras to the gym.
Yeah.
And I do think it
Fabulous.
helps.
And
I
that's the
think
thing.
it
Well, we
keeps
have
the
our
muscles taut.
yes, exactly. So we have our wonderful guest, Angie Greaves, who is just about to join us on International Women's Day.
Hey.
Mia's with me. I hope you don't mind.
Oh,
with you?
no.
Mia.
Beautiful.
Who's
Beautiful.
Mia?
Mia's
Oh,
my little cat. She.
Oh, lovely. We've
Oh.
never had anybody show their pussy before.
I don't know why, but she sits there whenever I'm in meetings or Zooms. I don't know what it is. And then I've got another one, a ginger Tom called Milo, big thing, but he's always out. You know what men are like.
Oh, yeah. We do indeed.
Angie, did you get a #1 bra? Oh,
Ooh, what do you reckon?
I absolutely love them. I've just started a detox, and I did say to Jeanette that I would take my before picture and then my after picture in a #1 sports bra, whatever. But when I looked at the before picture, no. No. But I've spoken to Jeanette, so I said at the end of the detox she can refit me, and then we're going to talk about doing some socials. I've just relaunched my newsletter, so yeah. So it's all good.
Brilliant.
It's all good. So
Brilliant. So, Angie, it's International Women's Day tomorrow.
wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Well, I think it's great that at last women are not as afraid to share their voices, how they feel. I think it's also good, and I think it's really important to say this, that men are accepting our energy, if that makes sense, because it's all about balance, isn't it? I don't want to walk in a room and take control, and that is the absolute truth, because I don't want anybody to come to me if the hits the fan. But the beauty is, it's all about balance. So up, down, right, left, hot, cold, warm, light, dark, male, female. So I think it's really good that we're bringing our voices to the table, and I just think it's a really great time. And the fact is, we can talk to women and friends that we know around the world. We can talk to people like we're doing now on Zoom. I just think it's really, really encouraging. And it's also good, not just for our daughters, but for our sons to see women, females from their young, being involved, so you grow up with the balance. Does that make sense?
It makes it even more important to celebrate International Women's Day, because we're embracing what we are as women.
Absolutely.
As you say, in business, helping people, all the things that women have done for years, and having children and
Yes.
bringing children up.
Yes,
You know, that's what we're embracing and celebrating.
absolutely.
The fact that now you can do it. You know, if I even look back to when my grandmother's era, where, you know, the men went out to work and the women were at home bringing up the kids,
Yeah.
you know, and were considered not to be intelligent,
Yeah.
and all of that. And what, look, in such a short space of time, in 50 years, how
Yeah.
it's changed.
Look
you know,
at how far we've come.
come,
Isn't that
absolutely.
interesting?
But
You know,
can I just
My
say,
mum went to work, and you know, obviously yours did, Dee, and you know, and I think that the weird thing about that was my mother was you know, not normal. I mean, I didn't have a normal life, but I know that everybody has
That's
felt this way. But having you know, being a working mum, the thing that I found out is just being a mother is the hardest thing I have ever had to do.
yeah,
It's the
yeah.
most exhausting job I've ever done.
It is. But can I also say about the female thing is that, you know, in the 70s, I think it was the early 70s, you still couldn't get a mortgage if you're a woman. I think, and we're still fighting. And also, I've done a lot of stuff about diversity in the boardroom, and there is still male dominated, you know, in the boardroom. And, you know, usually women, they resign or retire at 35 is the norm.
yeah.
So it's still, we've still got a long way to go with
actually,
our equality.
But
So I
really-
still think we're fighting, and there's still a big fight. And I know that because I've done a lot of work. I've written a lot of articles on that subject, and I think you know, I think we've got to embrace the fact that we're still we're not there yet.
Work in progress.
Yes.
Work
Still.
in progress.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But let's look at the women that have come through. So I was talking to somebody, funnily enough, last Friday. She's working for a corporation, and she said, Angie, I've had enough. I can't do this anymore. I'm done. And I said, all right, take a breather, because what you need to acknowledge is someone's watching you. It's happened to all of us. Someone is watching our path. We might feel that we're making little breakthroughs, but someone watching us might go, "My, did you see what she did? And she's done this." And so if you give up, what you're actually saying is to that someone who's watching you, that nameless, faceless person,
Yes.
this is
You've
it
won.
now. You come this far and then you stop. And I don't believe that at all.
And I think the thing is, at least being within our industry, Angie, I mean, we've been quite privileged always, because as women, because, you know, we work because we are women.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Or we did. And so therefore, as an actress, you are working all the time. So you don't have that. I know we've had the male equality with wages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Salaries, but always we've been able to work, haven't we, Natalie, as actresses?
I think the most exciting thing, I mean, it's everybody has the opportunity to do this, but it's the opportunity always to reinvent yourself as well. I mean, each 10 years that goes past, it's scary, yes, getting older, but at the same time, maybe look at it as a lovely opportunity. Okay, so I'm going to sort of be somebody slightly different. We are every few years, so it's quite an exciting thing, another chapter.
I think what's good now is that because we are all different, that I think what's great is there are people who will never give up and keep going because that's their personality.
Yeah.
There are others, as you were saying, Angie, that will give up, but there are also other gentle souls whose, you know, whole thing in life has been wanting to nurture their nest and not work.
Yes.
And in the old days, that's when you were kind of looked down on. You didn't have a job. You know, as women started to get work, it was, oh, you're just a housewife was the thing.
Yeah.
But now, because so many men are doing it, I think, as well, you know, because they take my hat off to them, you know, that we now, you can say, I actually, all I want to do is bring up my children and keep my nest happy, and
Yeah.
you're not, it's, people respect you for it, which they didn't years ago.
Not at all. And
Yeah.
when I used to do a lot of talks with mums, when I lived in Surrey, I used to go to see lots of single mothers who kind of lived not in a shelter, but you know, women that were struggling. So they lived together in a like a big massive home, I suppose. And I used to always start my talks with how wonderful they are because they were able to give birth, how wonderful they are because they kept their children. Not everybody who has a child is meant to be a mother, just like now, not everybody who has a driving license is meant to be a driver. But I used to
get me driving then.
But I used to put
That
on
hit
this
home.
massive clipboard before I started, job for life, unpaid, no HR, no head of department, no opportunity to change department, no opportunity for a sabbatical. And they all used to say, well, who'd take a bloody job like that? And I'd say, well, who's got kids? All the hands would go up. You're doing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
pat yourself on the back.
You're
Yeah.
right. Absolutely right. Oh God, we could go on talking about this forever, but
Yeah.
Angie, I know that you have a brilliant book club, and you did a video, didn't you, on, I mean, it really is sort of the same sort of subject because it's about daily habits, about,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
being confident and transforming your life. It's
Oh,
Robert
gosh.
Greene's book, isn't it?
Yeah. So just to give you the context, when I was 13 and my parents were divorcing, I stopped reading. And my English teacher, who I still keep in contact with today, she gave me a book called That's How It Was by Maureen Duffy. And she said to me, do not come back until you finish this book. I don't want to hear from you until you finish it. And I read it from cover to cover, and it was about relationships, and it was the language of Louis, and it just really, really got to me. And then we fast forward, and I was in a situation where we've all been there. I had a breakup, and I was in the States, and I picked up a book, and it just spoke to me. So when I was asked if I wanted to interview this guy, look, my ring lights, I've got one either side of my
What does it say, Ange? Can't see it.
It's Daily Laws by Robert Greene. Let me put it right up here, because
Oh yes, I can see that now.
Yeah. It's Daily Laws by Robert Greene. Now, Robert Greene is an American author and speaker, and he's written a number of books. I'm looking down, so I don't want to get this wrong. Like, he's written the 48 Laws of Power, the 48 Concise Laws of Power. He's written a book called the 33 Strategies of War, and he's written a book called The Art of Seduction. And let me explain that one before I go on. It's not about sexual seduction. It's about the language of seduction that comes through politics, comes through marketing, comes through business, comes through leadership. And what he's done is he's combined the best of his books, and he's put them in the Daily Laws.
Oh God, sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh,
It really,
my
yeah,
goodness.
really does, doesn't it? Amazing.
So,
And is
you know,
this,
sorry, go on,
this
yeah.
for everyone, Angie? Tell us.
Anybody can pick it up.
Yeah.
Anybody can pick it up. So just because he talks about the art of seduction in politics and leadership and business, etc., it doesn't mean that if you are a stay-at-home mother, whether you choose to be or not, it doesn't mean that if you're out of work, you know, anybody and everybody needs uplifting.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter what you do for a living, because when you wake up in the morning, you are not your job. You are who you are.
Yeah.
And you need uplifting, and you need feeding. Your soul needs reviving and refreshing. And one of the things that he said to me when I spoke with him, this was a couple of weeks ago, was, since lockdown, the world has changed. And since the rise of social media, anxiety, mental health, relationship breakdowns, all these things are impacting us. And because COVID and lockdown didn't only affect you if you were a politician, if you were a stay-at-home mum, it affected everybody. So as gruesome and as negative as that time was, it kind of brought us together because we were all in the same boat. And I think that's when a lot of his books and when his writings, and he said a lot of his speaking engagements, especially on Zoom, went through the roof, because people almost needed a refreshing, a recharging, refueling. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
I don't put myself out there enough, and that is the God's honest truth. And I feel it's time. This is probably my little bit of female, what I'm going to call imposter syndrome kicking in. So let me say it. Oh, I think, oh, sorry, that was Mia. So, oh, hello, that's Mia. That's my little pussycat. So having worked at the Beeb and then having gone to Capital and then having moved on to other radio stations, and I was and still am a very go-get person. And I'm just going to say it. I noticed 9 times out of 10, wherever I went, I was the only Black person, not the only Black woman, the only Black person. And sometimes it was a very, very lonely place. So I used to put my energies into doing my job. Once my job was done, go home, great, I'm done. But then I think it was in becoming a mother that then I realized, you know, if your daughters are watching you, what you're saying to them is, go to work, come home, do nothing else. And we've all got so many gifts inside of us. I know that we're told, do one job and do it well, but I reckon all of us here can multitask. We're all mothers here, yeah?
No, I'm not.
You're not a mother. Okay, okay.
Well, she mothers everybody around her.
There you go. You're
She
a
does.
multitasker. So tell me, how many times have you been on the phone whilst changing nappies and doing the dinner at the same time? You're a multitasker. So why is that allowed to happen in the home? But when we want to go out in the workplace, and when we want to say, well, actually, I can interview Mick Hucknall, and I can also interview Shabba Ranks, and I can also interview an author. We had that wonderful author on when we were talking a couple of months ago now, long time ago, you know. So I can do, you know, I can talk to Kevin Costner, I can talk to Viola Davis, but I think because of always being the only one, feeling a bit lonely, I felt I had to prove myself behind the mic before I prove myself anywhere else. Does that make sense?
It certainly does. And I think I would add to that, and, you know, because I'm in awe of all you mothers, is that I think it's also because a lot of people, a lot of women got wrapped up in doing the housework and having a clean home and looking after their kids and being exhausted from that. And then suddenly you've all found this extra energy that you can work as well, you know, which is incredible, isn't it? And I know, because of what I've read up about you, is, you know, you were the first woman on certain radio stations, not just the first Black woman or Black person. But why do you think, and that's going back quite a few years when it was even more difficult, why do you think you managed to get those jobs as a woman and a Black woman?
Okay.
Where other people couldn't, because that's what they want to know.
Yeah.
How do I get there?
My father, God rest his soul, he was a walking dictionary, and he always used to say to me, if you're going to do a job, do it well. So if you're going to sweep the roads, you sweep those roads in such a way that when anybody drives past, they go, my God, did you see that road that Angela swept? Only Angela can sweep like that. Yeah. And he always used to say to me, there's only one Angela Greaves that can do what Angela Greaves can do. So I just used to walk in and say, right, this is what I want to do. I was assisted by the fact that when I worked at Capital Radio, I started off in HR, and then I went into production, and I made tea for Chris Tarrant and Pat Sharp and Mick Brown and whatever. So when the time came and those guys moved on to other stations and my name came up, they go, oh yeah, we know Angie. We worked with her. So that was a helping hand. And also, and I'm going to say this, I didn't entertain anybody who saw colour, because it was my voice that people were investing in. So if you want to close your ears and bypass my voice, you're going to be losing out. And that wasn't arrogant, that was confidence, because I knew I had something to offer.
Self-belief.
We had on the show last week, we had Katie Kane Mason. Do you know who that is?
That family, what an amazing family.
She was on here last week.
Amazing.
They're all classical musicians, and their parents just said to them, "You're gonna do it."
Yeah.
And I think maybe they did fight at some point, but then something clicked, and all just come together. And my goodness, talk about playing music, and it's
I
beautiful.
know.
Absolutely.
And she's
Absolutely beautiful.
amazing. She's amazing because she's, you know, she was a university lecturer and all of this lot. Now,
Yeah.
and now she's starting to become a presenter. So she's going to come onto the Wonderbirds as one of our presenters as well.
Excellent.
So, but she's like you, Angie. She's so inspiring and so gorgeous and so interesting.
Yeah.
The word inspiring is one thing, but actually I said to Debbie the other day that word inspiring but it's motivating.
Yeah.
Actually listening to somebody like you, it's motivating. Listening to somebody like her, it's motivating. It's so exciting.
There's a speaker called Marianne Williamson.
Yeah.
Our deepest fear is not our darkness. Our deepest fear is our light.
Yes.
And
Perfect.
there's a line in that poem that says, by playing small so that others won't feel intimidated by your presence does nothing to serve the world.
Yes,
And
naturally.
I'll leave you with that.
Completely.
I'll
You know,
leave you with that.
I had a mentor in a guy that was mentoring me for something in a sort of psychological sense. I won't go into detail, but anyway, he used to say to me, you know, your anxiety is about fear of success, not fear of failure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But Angie, you're coming back to see us very soon, aren't you? Because we love having you here.
Oh my
Yes.
God, being with you.
And I think we've got to have an evening at Joe Allen's. You've got to meet Debbie McGee now. You've got to meet her.
Definitely.
Oh, I'm so thrilled.
Definitely. Yes.
You
Good.
know what, Angie? I'm so thrilled. And I'm quite emotional about what you said about your dad. I've just been choking back the tears, actually. You know, take no notice of me, but and it's so wonderful what Debbie McGee has said to you, because I believe that you are very special and you're here for a reason, to motivate so many people, and thank you so much.
Can I just say, one of the things that I will take away from this, what you said in the middle of things you were talking about, is that you know that you don't want to have anything to do with people that see colour. And my dad was Irish, so he came to England at a time when people, you know, didn't want to know Irish people and didn't want to know people.
No Irish, no blacks, no dogs.
Yeah. And so and my dad brought my siblings and I up with don't see colour.
No.
That was his words. He said, see people.
Absolutely.
Like inside.
I've just got back from Dublin. Had the most amazing time. I'm going back.
And it's about, do you like this person? It's not about what their colour skin is or anything, what religion. It's all about the person. And I think that's what everybody in the world has got to start learning.
Oh, Angie, I've missed you. We haven't seen you for ages, you know.
But it's nice to be back in your nest. I thank you for allowing myself and Mia.
You and your pussy are very, very welcome. Well, we'll see everybody on Friday. Thank you, Angie.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, darling.
Bye.
Bye.